Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. No matter where you're at in your career, you've probably dreamed of retirement at least once or twice. But a growing number of workers and retirees are worried about retirement.
This year's new Retirement Confidence Survey shows 64% of workers are confident they'll have enough money to live comfortably throughout their retirement years. But that is down from 73% just last year.
Today, we're talking with Craig Copeland. He is the Director of Wealth Benefits Research at the Employee Benefit Research Institute. We're going to ask him what's driving this drop in confidence and what's to come as Americans try to work toward a comfortable life after the office.
This is On Your Side with Susan Campbell and Gary Harper, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Okay, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
Hello, Susan.
How are you?
How's it going today?
Pretty good.
Not bad?
We're recording on a Friday today.
I know.
So I can see the weekend in my future.
Yeah. You said you had a little brain misfiring today. I guess long week for you.
It's been a long week, so, I'm happy to get to the weekend and kind of do a little bit of a reset. You know when you have the stack of chores that's just looming over your head?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Does that include like housekeeping? And
Yeah,
all that?
of course.
Oh my gosh, really?
Like 17 loads of laundry a day.
Oh my gosh, I know. You got to stay on top of that stuff. At least I know it's hard, but they say one chore a day. That's it. And then that way,
Oh, gosh, I would be so far behind if it was just one chore a day.
Yeah, well, you got two kiddos, though, as we know. So, yeah, a lot of laundry, a lot of mess to pick up after. Hey, we're talking today about my favorite topic.
Well, I was going to say, I thought your favorite topic was cars, but I know that's not on the docket today.
Cars are, I love cars. Big fan of them. But money is the priority.
And retirement.
That is the most important thing. I think it should be anyway in everybody's life, right? I mean, don't be consumed with it, but it's, as they say, it's what makes the world go around.
Yeah, well, and when we're talking about retirement, we're all working towards something.
Yes,
and
goal.
You kind of dream of it.
Yeah. When do you think you're going to retire?
Tomorrow?
Well,
no, I don't know.
Did we know her nest egg was...
I think I have a ways to go.
Okay.
But I do hope that I had a very good example from my parents. Mm-hmm. My dad retired when he was 60.
Okay.
And that is a huge goal of mine. I would love to be able to retire early like he did and, enjoy stuff while you're still young and can enjoy what you've worked really hard for.
Absolutely. And not to be a downer, but I know of so many people who have worked, and then wanting to get enough for retirement, and then, unfortunately, they don't last very long. I mean, it's terrible to talk about.
Yeah, that's not what I want to see.
Okay, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer.
Okay, let's bring it back up. Bring it back up.
All right, yeah, let's go positive. Let's talk to Craig Copeland. He's the Director of Wealth Benefits Research at the Employee Benefit Research Institute. Wow, that's a mouthful, Craig. How are you today?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on the On Your Side podcast. Tell us a little bit about what the Employee Benefit Research Institute is before we get into retirement and money and all that good stuff.
Well, we're based in Washington, D.C. We're a nonprofit research group. We really study all research, all employee benefit topics, whether it's retirement, financial well-being, health. So we're on top of all of the employee benefits we have. And today we're going to be talking about retirement from our new survey that we just released.
Well, and you found that people are losing confidence in their ability to have a comfortable retirement. That sounds like kind of a big bummer, not the upper that we were hoping for here. But what did you find?
Well, we found that we saw the biggest drop in our confidence in this survey that we've been doing for over 30 years. And the last time we had this type of drop was 2007 to 2008. And if you remember that time, that was when we went into recession. So that's not really giving us a very optimistic view of what's going on. That a lot of times what people is doing is projecting where their current situation is into their future on the retirement. So if they anticipate not doing well now, they kind of think they won't do as well as retirement. And that's one of the really big things that we saw is this inflation, retirement counts going down is all impacting people's thoughts on their retirement. And then, certainly in the short term, that is going to be a big factor. You can't really continue to have these prices increase and think that you're going to be able to continue to pay for them. You can't continue to have your retirement account balances go down and expect to be able to accumulate a significant amount when you hit your retirement.
Hey, Craig, I think this says a lot. Our audio engineer, Todd Martin, and I were talking not long ago. We noticed something that we did not used to see, and that is a lot of older workers are working, a lot of older people. We saw a security guard the other day. He must have been like 85. If you go up to a drive-in to pick up ice cream or whatever, it seems like, senior citizens are working a lot more. What do you think? Does that say a lot?
Well, we do have an aging population, so there are more older people out there, and they're becoming part of the workforce as well. But still, the ability to work for most people is not really going to be something that's going to be able to happen, because a lot of the reasons we see people retiring is because of their health issues or disability, or there's something happens at their employer, it shuts down, you get laid off as you get older. We do have those people that are trying to do that, because that is a way that can help you get through retirement if you can use those extra years to accumulate money instead of having to spend down. But still, trying to rely on that, it's going to be a very risky adventure for people, because you can't do it. We keep finding people say, over 70% of workers are currently saying that they expect to work in retirement. But when we ask retirees that actually did it, we only get a quarter. So there's that 50 percentage point difference of people who think they're going to be able to fund their retirement by working for pay in retirement that aren't actually going to be doing it. So yes, we do see those people because we have the aging population, but still we have such a large aging population that it can't be way that everyone's going to be able to fund their retirement.
That's an incredible stat.
Yeah.
That people are planning on being able to continue to work, and it's just not the reality when they actually get to that end of working date.
Right. Hey, let's break down some numbers here, Craig. I was looking up, according to Fidelity, average 401k right now is $104,000. At the age of 65, that 104, the average should amount to around $255,000. $255,000. I guess it depends on your lifestyle, but at the age of 65, doesn't seem like really a high balance to have at that age.
It is not. And you just think about if you need $50,000 a year, 255 is only going to give you 5 years, right? So we really have to think about how we're going to stretch those dollars and really building up that money for by the time you reach 65. And one of the things that we have starting younger, saving, when you're in your 20s, that can really make the difference, because you get those extra years of compounding that you don't get if you wait till your 40s. So anything you can do to prepare when you're younger age, you're in better shape. For those that are already at retirement, they don't have a lot of choices at this point. That's what they're stuck with. And then they have to figure out, well, I'll have my Social Security. What can I do to supplement it? And one of the things you could say is work. We see that work is not really a strategy that many of them are going to be but many of them aren't going to be able to take it. So we really have to think about what they're going to do to live off of and really adjust their budgets accordingly.
I am the newsroom mom who hounds every one of our younger colleagues who hasn't started a 401k yet. We get a match at our company, and we have a lot of younger colleagues who haven't started their 401ks. Yeah. And they know every time we get a little note about the 401k or the match or something, like, have you started it yet?
Yeah.
And I am on them because I know it's so, so critical. And it's hard to think about retirement when you're in your early 20s and it's so far off, right? It's just
in their mind, it's like so
forever away.
It's forever away. And I'll give you a fun example, and it's an example, but it's not really fun. I was talking to my oldest son about 401k, and he's like, "That's the retirement thing, right?" I'm like, "Yes, exactly." He's like, "Oh, I'm not going to worry about that. That's like way down the road." I'm like, "Oh my God."
Does he not know his dad's a consumer reporter?
Yeah, I know. I try to drill it in his head, but listen, that's the mindset of the younger generation right now. Well, I'll never be as old as Dad.
Oh, well, I mean, I think every generation goes through that feeling, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that you try to chat with people without sounding too bossy.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Too momish.
I'm a mom. I'll take it.
Hey, Craig, what are some of the better benefits that you're seeing employers are offering out there? I mean, we'll start with the 401k, and again, some of the younger generation not really wanting to contribute to that. But do you know the average, not kickback, but contribution that a company would kick into an employee's balance? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Kind of the most common one is to match up to 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of compensation. So basically that ends up, if you put in 6%, you'll get additional 3% put in your 401k plan, which, is a significant return on your investment there before you even start, letting it gain in the stock market or however you invest it. So one of the things you really want to do is at least hit the match, the maximum that's matched, because otherwise you're leaving free money on the table. So you really want to do that. And from there, then you can start thinking about, well, maybe each year when I get a salary increase, I can increase what I save a little bit more. That way I get that savings initiative and keep going each year as I increase my salary and keep going. Some of the other benefits that really happen is because more and more we're realizing that 401k or retirement planning in itself is not really enough. There are so many other issues, as you just talked about, competing interests that young people have, and that could be savings for emergency, paying down student loan debt, that offering some type of financial wellness benefit that allows people to get access to someone like a financial planner or a budget specialist that can really work with how I can address all these competing interests for my money. That maybe I need to max out my 401k to the match, and then I need to start paying down my debt. Then I need to start saving for emergency. If I want to own a home, I need to start putting down for a down payment. And trying to work all that out is really kind of where the employee, particularly large employers, are going, is really finding out how you can spend your entire budget and really help people understand those competing interests.
Hey, Craig, I'm not really good with numbers, but if we could just back up just a little bit, and you were giving the what companies normally match. So just for our listeners, if they have like $1,000, what does that equate to with the employee match? How much extra do they have on top of that 3,000? I'm sorry, that 1,000.
Well, if they put in if that's their your compensation, if they get a 50% match, then they would get $500.
Wow. I mean, that's in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think $1,000 isn't, that's not what people would typically be contributing to a 401k.
I'm also doing round numbers here because we don't have calculators in front of us. Is that why you were raising I was going to go to $10,000, but then you would have said, that's too much for some people to put in. So I went with the lower number, 1,000.
How much does Gary make?
I know. I'm like thinking, I'm thinking per paycheck, and I'm like, wow, gosh, I think there's a cap on this.
I think he's talking on an annual basis.
Makes sense. Craig, so thank you.
30%.
All right, I got it.
30,000, 5% is 1,500. So
yes.
I mean that really is a doable number on an annual basis, and hopefully people would be doing more because a lot of people, professionals suggest 10 to 15%. So if you're making 30,000, without a calculator, it's easy to do. That's 3,000 for the year. But that's still a stretch for a young person getting out, just starting out. But as you mature, you want to try to reach that 10%, and then you could get that extra $5,000, $1,500 that your employer could kick in.
I have been working long enough to have seen kind of the ebbs and flows of a retirement account. And the past year, it has been discouraging to watch the retirement account balance drop pretty significantly, especially after we had a couple years of really, really great returns. You kind of get lulled into a false sense of security where you think you're going to see these returns all the time. So how did that kind of, that drop play into what you were finding in your survey, where people are kind of losing confidence because they are watching their money actually go out of the account?
Well, that's one of the two big issues. It's the inflation and retirement account balance going down. That's what what they cited as the most common reasons for why they lost their confidence were those type of issues. But what you really have to realize is that investing is not a straight line up proposition. You're going to have those really good years, but you have to, what comes with that is a few bad years in between. So you really need to stay the course, and because if you try to pull out now, when you're not going to necessarily be able to get the money back in when you get the next big increase. So you need to go and keep the money there, let it take care of itself. And it typically will. Because like if you look back in March and April of 2020 and you saw the stock market go down 30, 40%, if you'd pulled it all out, you missed everything that came back plus so much more. If you had pulled it out, if you just left it there, you ended up being, in so much better shape than if you had panicked and pulled it out at that time. So anytime we talk about investing, particularly for retirement, it's a long-term proposition. If you try to pull it, it can take money in and out of the stock market year to year, you're going to end up losing because if everyone could time perfectly, we would have so many millionaires, and you could see we don't have so many millionaires. So we know that people can't do that easily.
Hey, Craig, how important is it to take your 401k and take it with you when you go to another job?
Well, I mean, that's the big thing is consistent participation or consistently keeping the money there. I mean, because one of the things that we see is when we look at people that stay in the same employer, the same plan, the amount they accumulate versus those coming and going is, can be 10 times as much easily for someone in their 40s. So if you can preserve that money, whether you take it with you, roll it over to an IRA and preserve it in the IRA, or if you're able to take it to your next employer, that allows you to continue that accumulation and really can get you that situation where you'll be past that 255. You can get, $500,000 to $1 million if you can, do that from your 20s. Obviously, you need to have good income to get to the million, but still, even those in the middle incomes could accumulate that much money for constantly saving and keeping the money in there, regardless of whether you change a job or not.
In your survey, when you're talking about comfortability in retirement, what actually goes into that? How do people perceive being comfortable in retirement?
That's kind of an issue of if that's the self-perceived of what they feel is comfortable. So a lot of what is going to be determined upon is what they find comfortable now. And that's kind of why we see when, people don't feel comfortable now, they kind of project that into their retirement years. So someone's comfort, at 30,000 could be very uncomfortable for someone that had been making 100,000 before they retired. So really, it's their self-perceived of how they can continue to live that life they want and expect to live or have lived.
Kind of just maintaining the status quo.
Right.
So I've read articles before that state, you should have this amount when you're 30. You should have this amount when you're 40. You should have this amount when you're 50. Are those actually accurate? Because I guess it really depends on the person.
It depends upon the person, and it depends upon, where you live, and, if you plan on moving to a lower cost area or something like that. So are they accurate? They're accurate in for what they are trying to estimate for. They're trying to get you to be able to replace about 80% of what you are making to have that level of income. And really, most people probably would like to have 80% of the income they had when they're working, but that's not really realistic for most people, particularly once you get, if you're making 70, 80, 100,000, whatever, it's going to be hard to get that level of income in retirement. So yes, that's accurate for what they do, but it's not really going to be realistic for most people to get to that level. And they may think about what I need to give up now to get more of what I want in the future by savings, and figure out what I'm willing to go without in retirement because I want to do more when I'm working.
Let's say somebody wants to retire at 62. That seems to be a common age for retirement. What percentage, and I think you may have kind of touched on this, what percentage of your income should you be looking at having in retirement if you're looking at retiring at, say, 62?
Most of the studies say, 80% is kind of the gold standard. Others say 70%. So to be able to get to 70% at age 62 is going to be challenging if you haven't saved very much, because if you have saved very little, you're really only going to have your Social Security benefit at 62. And one thing is, if you take your Social Security benefit at 62, your benefit's significantly reduced. Every year you retire or you claim your benefits before you hit the normal Social Security retirement age. For those in the workforce now, that's age 67. So that's 5 years worth of reductions, which is a considerable amount of money. So that means you have to save that much more to make up for that difference. So trying to get 70% of your income. So, think about that. If you're making $50,000, you're going to have to somehow come up with being able to fund $35,000 a year. So, you're easily talking about a very large nest egg to be able to do that.
All right. So 70% kind of a good goal. 80% is really the good goals. At least 70% just to be safe then.
In general, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Gary's doing the math right now. He's like, when can I retire? When can I retire?
I told you I'm bad with the numbers, but I got a lot of things going on through my head right now. Hey, I'll ask you a personal question. How are you with your retirement? Are you comfortable where you're at?
I think I am, because one thing by working here, I got the savings epic young, started as soon as I worked, definitely was above my match rate. And now, I'm fortunate enough, I'm able to max out my 401k contribution. So, and I've been here for 25 years. So I've done those things, consistent participation, saved as much as I can. Therefore, I feel I'm in pretty good shape. I still am, 10 plus years away from retirement. So I have years to continue to improve, but I also potentially have time to do something stupid too. So,
but being it's top of mind for you all the time.
Right.
There are people who spend an entire lifetime never talking about retirement until it is the very last moment.
Yeah.
Versus you are thinking about it all the time. And I just feel like I wish people talked about retirement and money more, so they could feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Social Security. Listen, I'm not even expecting it to be there when I retire, and I would advise people not to count on it because you just never know. I mean, there's so many things going on right now, and they say it may not even be around. I think in 2032 was the last number that I saw, but.
Well, that was part of you measured people's confidence in Medicare and Social Security too.
Right. Yeah. One thing I want to say is I don't think there'll be any way that Social Security is going to go away totally. Do we expect the benefits to be able to be what they are currently? No. So I agree that we should be counting on Social Security being less than what it has been for retirees. But I don't see that there's any way that program can go away and anyone can probably stay in office. So it'd be very hard for it to go away completely. But we should be considering about like you said, that day 2033, benefits could still be have to be reduced about 30%, and we'd still be able to fund Social Security. So that's a 30% cut. So yes, we should be thinking that it's not going to be as generous. And we can see that half of workers expect Social Security's value to be less than what retirees get today, according to our survey. So they're probably, on top of that, they've heard the discussion. There is a long-term funding issue for Social Security that, needs to be addressed by Congress. We haven't seen those actions yet so far, but at some point, particularly once you hit 2033 and the money's not coming in and they got to pay out benefits, a decision is going to have to be made.
Well, I'll give you a quick example. Medicare, the age limit on to qualify for Medicare has already been pushed up to the age of 64. Who's to say the same thing's not going to happen with Social Security, which right now it's 62. In order to keep Social Security afloat, the age limit might be raised from 62 up to, say, 65 before you even qualify. So who knows what could happen down the road in order to keep Social Security afloat. That's why I always say, will it be around? Yes, it could be, but it may not be as beneficial as it once was. That's why I really advise people just to put away as much as you can and rely on yourself. And if it's Social Security is there, great. It's almost like a bonus. But, if it's not, you got to have some kind of protection, a safety net. Hey, Craig, listen, I appreciate you. We appreciate you joining us on the On Your Side podcast. If people want to find out more about you or your nonprofit, where can they go?
It's ebri.org.
Very good. Very good. All right. Listen, thanks so much. I always like talking about money and retirement. And
just dreaming of the beach.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the mountains, or who knows.
I'll take the beach.
Okay.
All right, Craig, have a good one, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.